I think we're good. All right, Ironman70.3 Santa Cruz recap video. First off, just want to say if you've been following along the journey, whether you just started or you started when I first did my Ironman70.3 back in 2023, just want to say thank you for all the support and everything. But yeah, let's dive into it. So Ironman70.3 Santa Cruz was this past Sunday, September 8th, and honestly, it was one hell of an experience. I mean, I'll start leading up to it, that way you got some background context as to when I do explain the race and what went wrong and what went right. So a week out, or 2 Mondays out, I got a 24-hour flu bug, which wasn't anything major. It just set me back for about 24 hours, felt like shit, whatnot, but luckily that was during a period where I had a rest day and whatnot, so kind of like phased over, nothing bad. And then the week leading up to the race, that Monday, I got minor food poisoning going into Tuesday. So my dad and I had something for dinner that night, and then had stomach issues all night, ended up sleeping with a trash can full of puke next to me. Wasn't fun at all. And then middle of Tuesday, stomach started feeling better, and the rest of the day I felt like another 24-hour flu bug. So I had the chills, had the aches, was hot, was cold, whatnot. It just wasn't great, but still nothing too bad to worry about, just because race day was still 5 or 6 days out. So then week goes by, training a little bit, but not really too much, just because of fatigue, and head up early Friday morning. I was actually supposed to go with my mom, but I ended up going with my dad. Not going to talk too much about that, but I ended up going with my dad. Found that out Friday morning at 5:30 or so. So my dad and I ended up heading out around 5:45 in the morning. We go up to Santa Cruz. We get there, super easy drive, and all goes well. I mean, that afternoon I had a shakeout swim with the full-time champs crew, my coach, their new community, super awesome, a bunch of us. So we did that, which was super cool. Ran into a seal, which was pretty neat and scary at the same time in the swim. And so that took place about Friday around 4:30. Race is Sunday morning. So all Friday, that's when I started my carb load as well. So what I did for nutrition-wise was 7 a.m. on Friday, I had a banana, which was 30 grams. Yes, I do write down everything. 9:30 a.m., I had pancakes and a can of Coke. 11:15 to 11:30 a.m., my dad and I stopped at this cafe. I had French toast and fruit. Around 2:30 p.m., I had sourdough and jam. Around 3:10 p.m., I had 400 grams of rice plus 2 ounces of cooked chicken. And then I did the swim. After the swim, showered up or whatnot, hung out with my dad for a bit, and then around 5:30, I had another Coke with a Rice Krispie treat. And then for dinner, I ended up piss poor planning, and I pre-packed some of my meals, but I forgot to cook the pasta ahead of time, so I tried to microwave it. That didn't go to plan, so I had half a pack of pasta, and then I ended up just having sourdough with jam. So for me, when it comes to carb loading, I know the foods that work well for me are pasta, rice, sourdough, pancakes or waffles, syrup, jam, and some sugar from beverages, so soft drinks such as soda. I know that stuff works well for me because I digest it well and I eat it all the time during training. But what I am going to get into is why I think I had stomach issues and what led to that. So Friday, that's pretty much it, honestly. There's not really anything to it. Saturday rolls around. In the morning, we had a shakeout run, so about 3 miles or so with some strides, and then about an hour or so later, so this is now about 10 a.m., we had an easy 40-minute cycle to spin out the legs and also see some of the race course. And then after that, went back to the hotel, ate some more food, and then checked my bike into transition, dropped that off. So by that point, I was all checked in and everything. And then the rest of the day was literally just food, hanging out with my dad, and just getting my mind off racing and just kind of keeping like a cool, calm environment. And this is kind of where I think everything went to shit, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But if you also have piss poor planning as well, you're just going to set yourself up for disaster. And that's kind of what I did when it came to fuel. So because I ended up going up with my dad, some of the things changes as far as I didn't realize that, you know, A, you're going to be in a hotel, B, you're going to need to go out and eat, and not every place is going to be extremely healthy and all this stuff. And it was just my fault for not planning that accordingly. So lunchtime rolls around on Saturday. We have a burger or whatnot. That was not the smartest choice or whatnot, but it's whatever. Greasy burger, hang out. My dad beats me a mini pot afterwards, you know. And then that evening or night, I had pizza and pasta from an Italian place we ordered into. And I'm not sure if that was the best call either, but I was just having stomach issues. I was having these sinus migraines or the sinus aches, and it was just not the best build up to a race. And so I had those issues going on, and still, I mean, you know, it's not like there are any excuses to not perform well. They're just minor hiccups that you just have to learn how to power through and strategize around. So go to bed pretty early, wake up about 4:45. So luckily this race, everything is in one spot, both transitions, pretty much the start of the swim. So you can have forward to sleep in a little bit. So 4:45, wake up, and then immediately had a coffee, was able to finally go to the restroom. I think I went to the restroom once in the past 2 days. I don't know what it was. I was just pretty much constipated, and then finally was able to go to the restroom a couple times before the race start at 7 a.m., which was nice. Coffee helps with that, obviously. And then what I had before the race, about 120 minutes before, was 1 cup of oats, jam, honey, maple syrup. So I wanted to get about 100 to 110 grams of carbs, and I knew something was wrong when I was eating that, and I was having a hard time eating, because normally when I had that meal, I feel good, I want to eat it, but there was something I just didn't want to eat it. And I don't know if it was nerves, if I was just bloated or whatnot, but it just wasn't sitting well in my stomach. As well, after that, leading up to 7 a.m., I was sipping on about 1,500 milligrams of sodium, just so I was having good sodium intake going into the race. And then besides that, stretching or whatnot, you guys don't really care about that. And then now we get to 7 a.m. So I did differently this time than I did at La Quinta. Was I started at the very front of the race. So the way the swim works is you got volunteers that hold up signs for your projected swim times. So I went to the very front this time. I did not overestimate anything. I was like 27 under group. I want to be one of the first ones out, because it is so much easier getting past than having to pass people in the swim. Swim, it was just an out, around, and back course. If you live in Manhattan Beach or Hermosa Beach or the South Bay, you understand you swim around a pier. The exact same thing in Santa Cruz. So 1.2 mile swim, was able to do that in 28 minutes, knocked out 4.5 minutes of my time roughly from La Quinta, which was huge, in the ocean compared to a reservoir. So the water was a lot choppier. I did swallow a decent amount, which I don't think helped going out of the water onto the bike, because my stomach was pretty full. So get out of the water. I'm like running. I see my dad, and I'm like, what time is it? And he tells me it's 7:29. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I just swam that in 20 or so minutes. I thought I swam in like 32. I was getting passed left and right. But swam it phenomenally, I guess. My coach ended up coming out 2 places in front of me, which I didn't even realize. But the transition from the swim to the bike is about an 800 meter, half a mile run. And then you get there. My transition from T1 was about 5 minutes and 29 seconds, which is about 2 minutes faster than La Quinta and over twice the distance of the transition. So that was really good. And then, yeah, threw on my bike shoes, my socks, put in my tire kit or whatnot, some fuel. And then I hopped on the bike, and immediately when I got on the bike, I realized my stomach was going to be a big issue, because I just wasn't feeling good. I literally felt like I wanted to puke a little bit. It was just terrible. And then got on the bike, and the plan was to have around 100 to 120 grams of carbs an hour. And I was planning on being on that bike anywhere between 2 hours and 15 minutes to 2 hours and 30 minutes. So first 2 hours, 100, 120 grams of carbs. The next 15 to 30 minutes have anywhere from 40 to 60. So, well, what ended up actually happening was I probably intaked about anywhere from 80 to 90 max. I couldn't get anything down. It felt like I just didn't want to drink anything. My stomach felt like shit. And the course overall was a lot hillier. It was 2,300 feet of elevation compared to La Quinta, which is probably 200 feet of elevation. And I was able to bike the course a minute faster than La Quinta, so it just shows you how much more fit and powerful it was. Thank you, Gil. So that happened. The whole time I was just trying to, in my mind, think, okay, how do we want to push and hold back on certain parts on the hills? Do we want to push certain hills? Made sure to bomb all the downhills. There was one part that was the scariest part of the race, and it was probably one of the bigger hills, and I was bombing it, and I hit 40 or 41 miles an hour, and I was actually shitting myself. Only thing I was going through my mind was stay composed, don't move, just get to the bottom, because any small minor bump and you are rest in peace, you're upstairs. So bike overall went well. I believe I negative split the bike, so going out was a little bit longer than coming back. So it was an out and back course, 28 miles out, 28 miles back, and average right around 22 miles an hour, I believe, and my average wattage output was about 2.4 to 2.6, I believe, or yeah, so I don't even know. Yeah, so 2 hours and 32 minutes and 51 seconds was the bike, and then got back still feeling like shit, and then transitioned from the bike to the run, same spot as T1, was 2 minutes and 9 seconds or 8 seconds, which was really solid. You know, had thrown my running shoes, my hat, my glasses, took out the stuff out of my back, put some fuel in me, and then I instantly grabbed a caffeinated Martin gel and was trying to take it down, and I just couldn't.
You got this, buddy. Come on.
My mouth, I was one of those where you're so sick of eating something, you just like can't chew or like can't swallow it, so I spit it out. And I was thinking to myself, this is going to be one interesting run. So the original plan was going into the run was the first, because it's also an out and back loop, so the first 6.5, 7 miles, keep it a pretty consistent pace. And I had to play it a little conservative, so I did anywhere between a 7 and 7:10 minute per mile pace. And then once I realized that I wasn't going to be able to take any fluid or any nutrition in, hardly any salt tabs, I was like, okay, this is going to be an issue because you're going to want to push the last half and you need some fuel. So what I was doing a little bit was intake it, slosh around my mouth for about 20 seconds, trick the body into thinking that carbs are going into my system, and then I'd spit it out. And overall, I probably took in 1 to 2 full gels, when realistically I was planning on taking one every 3 miles. So locked a lot of carbs there. But first 7 miles out, held that 7 to 7:10 minute per mile pace. Miles 7 to 8, I was feeling somewhat decent, so I started to push it a little bit, push around 6:55-ish pace, and then I got to mile 8, and my stomach just started turning again, and I had to slow down almost to a full stop because I actually thought I was going to shit myself. So my stomach was just turning. I literally thought I was going to be running the rest of this race with shit in my pants. It was fucking terrible. So I slowed down for about 20 seconds. That went away. And then the mile 8 to 9 was all uphill for the most part. So I think I pushed a 7:10 to a 7:15 minute per mile pace. And then I got to mile 9. And then from mile 9 to mile 10, that's when you start just hitting asphalt or road the entirety of the remainder of the race. So I was feeling somewhat decent. My stomach was still bothering me, but I just told myself, let's push this mile, see what we can do. I ended up pushing probably a 6:45 pace for mile 9 to 10. And then I had 5K left. I had 3 miles. The race course ended up being a half a mile longer, but I didn't even know that until I was told afterwards. Anyways, that's besides the point. I had 5K left, or 3.1 miles, and I told myself, how do you want to remember this race? Knowing that you finished and you could have pushed a little bit harder, or that you're going to push it as hard as you fucking can, and you might not finish because you might pass out beforehand, but then you will know that you gave it your all. So I literally head down and I just booked it for me. I think I was doing a 6:35 pace for the last 3.5 miles or so. I was dying. I literally was the most painful 5K I've ever done, just because I was so fatigued. My stomach was just grueling at me, but was able to get it done and then crossed the line, and I almost thought I was going to use a trash can right there. And then, yeah, it's pretty much the race. Oh, that was miserable. I'm going to do the questions that you guys had on a different video, just because I think this video is already long enough in itself. So that way you guys don't have to wait an extra 15 or so minutes to hear me answer a series of questions. But yeah, that's how the race went. So overall, I finished with a total time of 4 hours, 41 minutes, and 39 seconds. My swim was 28 minutes and 4 seconds at a 1 minute and 27 per 100 meter pace. My bike was 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 51 seconds, and it was at 22.16 average mile per hour. And then my run was 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 9 seconds at a 6:58 minute per mile average. And like I said, 4 hours, 41 minutes, and 39 seconds. I was 8th out of 114 men in my age group, 18 to 24. I was 90th place out of 1,594 men. And I was 91st place, but apparently someone cheated. So out of 2,143 people. So overall, regarding the circumstances, it was a solid race. I'm super happy with it. And the goal was to qualify for Worlds, which I would have done, but the way Worlds works was a little different than I expected. You have to pay a guaranteed upfront fee, and I just can't do that with it being a year down the line, and I don't know if I can say yes to something that far in advance. But now that we accomplished that goal that I knew I could have qualified for Worlds, the next goal is to medal. So top 5 is medaling. I was 3 slots away. Next time at La Quinta, I want to get top 5 to top 3. So we're going to smash my previous time of 4 hours and 47 minutes at La Quinta. We're going to smash this time at 4 hours and 41 minutes in Santa Cruz. And we're going to hope for the 420s. So that's a race recap. Seriously, thank you guys for following along. Like I said, I'll do the questions in a different video. But yeah, that's it. If you guys have any other questions or want me to do any more video styles like this of what fuel I use or anything of that sort, just let me know.